Alright guys, BLM here, back with a new video, and in this video I'm back talking about the Hitman series, and here I'm going to be doing a video I've been wanting to do for a while, and here I'll be ranking every campaign mission in the Hitman World of Assassination Trilogy. So to clarify here, this will be a ranking of the missions themselves, not necessarily the maps. Now obviously the design of the maps will play a factor into my thoughts on the missions, but this will be more of an assessment of my enjoyment of the assassinations within the main campaign, more so than how I feel like each level is designed. And obviously with this, we'll be talking about all the main campaign missions from Hitman's 1, 2, and 3. I did also decide to add the tutorial missions for some reason, so those will be here. Plus also I am adding the Hitman 2 expansion pass missions as well. So with that, that puts us at 22 missions to be ranking here. Now let's get started at number 22, where here we do have a mission that just annoys me. I really just do not enjoy playing this one, and that one is Freedom Fighters from Hitman 1. And Freedom Fighters to me really stands out as one of the worst missions in the history of the series from multiple aspects. I think when we're looking at just the map is extremely boring, being flat, enemy infested, hostile area that just isn't fun to navigate around. I mean, it's one where instantly you have to try to find someone to steal their disguise in order to get in there, just to make any semblance of progress there. I feel like in comparison to a lot of the other Hitman 1 missions, there aren't as many mission stories here, and especially that many interesting ones. Plus also, just the general design of this mission is just kind of annoying, where you have to kill 4 targets. Again, 4 targets in an enemy infested area, and that is just really annoying as well. Plus also adding the fact that doesn't even end the mission. After killing those 4 targets, you also have to find your way into the bunker under the house, and all this is just really annoying. Really, there are no positives for this mission. I just find it a pain to get through, so it's here at number 22. Now number 21, we're moving on to a mission that I did debate on for quite a while. There is some level of respect that I have for this mission, but overall I do feel like I have to land it here, and that is Untouchable from Hitman 3, the final level in the trilogy. And it's really a straight line. You're on a train, you just move forward on the train, go from car to car. There's not much to it. It's a level that's very much on rails and doesn't really give you many options to play with, which is kind of the point of Hitman. And one of the biggest pros of the series is how many different solutions there are to achieving your goal. And here there really isn't many options. That being said, the thing that I do respect this for is its approach to the narrative, where while I don't care about the Hitman narrative, I do respect that they decided to go all in on concluding their narrative with this level, which does feel like a conclusive level for the series narratively, but is very underwhelming from a gameplay perspective, considering again, there is no real freedom in this mission. And because I do have to land it here at number 21. Now, number 20, we're getting to what is essentially a tutorial mission. It's not technically, but it might as well be, and that is Nightcall from Hitman 2. And Nightcall is, again, another level that's very much on rails, a very short level, very story-heavy level, like Untouchable, and also does serve as a tutorial to the new elements that were added for Hitman 2. But realistically, it's just kind of fine. It's a mission that really only contains 1 target that shows up about halfway through the mission, and it's a really easy kill. You can literally just shoot them from the balcony and then just run away, and you should be able to get away pretty cleanly. Now obviously you can technically approach it in other ways, and that'll make it a bit more interesting, but it's just kind of an underwhelming level in the grand scheme of things, where it definitely is a mission that's here more so for the story and for introduction to gameplay elements without giving us much to really chew on here, and that's why I had to leave Nightcall here at number 20. Now at number 19, we're moving on to the tutorial missions. At number 19, we have Freeform Training, which will essentially represent both parts of this initial tutorial mission. It's essentially the same thing, obviously, except the second time they obviously let you do whatever you want. And yeah, it's a pretty baseline level. It is a level that is mostly just a yacht that has a party on it, and you kill 1 target. It's not that interesting. Again, it is a tutorial level. It's fine for what it is. Again, in comparison to Nightcall, it doesn't really have that story element at the beginning that kind of weighs that mission down. Freeform Training here does just feel like a fine mission, again, a fine introduction to the basic elements of Hitman, but I do think the lack of like mission stories and any real complexity here does have to leave it here at number 19. Now, number 18, the other tutorial mission here, we do have the final test. And this one's higher because it has mission stories. And really, it's meant to be an introduction to mission stories. At least that's a bit more interesting here. Again, the level itself is kind of bland. Again, kind of a flat area with another like enemy facility that has like a hangar in the back. And that's where the mission stories usually get involved. It's largely an unremarkable level, but I do think it is better than the previous tutorial mission and isn't hampered by narrative focused sections or isn't just a terrible level like Freedom Fighters. So it's here at number 18. Now number 17, we're moving on to the actual competent levels, but one that I do have a decent amount of issues with here, and that is Another Life from Hitman 2. Now, I've seen some mixed opinions on this level, and again, obviously I do lean towards the more negative side of things. I mean, I do think the actual assassinations in this mission are pretty solid, like the mission stories are pretty fun, but something I do find really annoying here is the third objective of finding clues, and that just feels really boring. It really has you going like all across the map, going on a wild goose chase for clues, and it's just kind of dull. Like it's really an objective that I just never really enjoyed, to the point where on my latest replay, I decided to just call it quits once I finished the 2 targets because it's just boring to do the clues. Also, I think the level design here isn't bad, but it's just very basic. Obviously, it's just a neighborhood. There isn't really much to say about it. It's literally just houses and a street. It's fine. But again, in comparison to every other level we're about to be talking about, I do feel like they are overall levels I enjoyed more. So it's here at number 17. Now, number 16. This is a level I am so conflicted on because it's a level that I have so much respect for, but I just genuinely do not enjoy playing this level. And here at number 16, we do have Apex Predator from Hitman 3. And Apex Predator, again, I've seen some people say this is the best mission in the history of the series. I see most people have it at least top tier. I did not enjoy playing this mission. Like, this is a mission that really frustrated me with how annoying it was to track down the ICA agents that you were hunting for, and you having to find like the mission stories on your own. And essentially, again, it is a level that essentially makes you do everything on your own. And again, conceptually, I love that. It is a great concept for a mission. It's just that I personally did not enjoy playing that concept. I also feel like this is one of these levels, and Hitman 3 does it a lot, where it really tries to add to the cinematic nature of the game, where we have this like really cinematic intro of you walking past the gas station and stumbling across the club, and there's a lot of narrative focus here around trying to meet up with Olivia and like all this stuff that I really just didn't care about. Like, that's not why I play Hitman 4. For me, I feel like Hitman's narrative really lets some levels down, and I do feel like this is a level that I enjoyed that element of it either. Again, like, it is a great overall map here. I do really like how the map is designed, but in terms of the mission that is in it, where we have to find these IC agents on our own, I just did not enjoy that element of it, and because I leave it here number 16. Now number 15 is a mission that I know is pretty criticized out there, and again, like, obviously I don't have it too high, but I probably like it more than the general reception to it, and that is a Gilded Cage from Hitman 1, which takes place in Marrakesh. I know this is like looked at as like one of the more boring maps in the series, and I kind of agree. I mean, I think it's a level that is like too open, and really we're about to talk about a string of these levels that I look at in a similar way. I mean, the next 4 missions we're about to be talking about are kind of in a similar tier, where they are these like massive set pieces, but through being these massive set pieces, I do feel like they miss out on certain other elements that I would like from a Hitman level. I think this level here is too open to the point where you have 2 different targets, both on separate sides of the map, that feel like they're completely disconnected from each other. And to be fair, there are probably other levels that have a similar sort of issue, but I do feel like this one in particular, it really does stand out. I also feel like just in general, the assassinations here are not that interesting. The one in the school in particular is more annoying than anything, as it's a really massive hostile area. The embassy is a bit more fun to get into, but I do think it's also one that is like just kind of underwhelming at how, despite there being a riot right outside, like that never plays a factor into the overall level. Like, I just feel like it's overall kind of an underwhelming level, but not necessarily a bad level. And that's why I have it here at number 15. Now, number 14, we have a mission that you could very clearly tell was kind of the next evolution of a Gilded Cage. And I do think it's done slightly better, but I still don't love it. And that is Chasing a Ghost from Hitman 2. And this is another one, really massive map, having 2 targets that feel very dispersed across the world here that, again, very rarely interact. But to go along with that, you also have the introduction of having an unknown target as well in the Maelstrom, a person that you have to do some investigations in order to figure out their identity, which from what I understand is really just a random NPC that changes every single time you play a level. So that's actually something that is a bit interesting. But I never found that objective as a whole to be that fun to do, especially considering the first part of it involves breaking into a hostile area just to figure out the information that you would eventually use to find a target later on. Again, like, that's kind of annoying. I mean, to me, Chasing a Ghost is a very impressive technical feat within a Hitman game. But again, in many ways, it just feels like more of a Gilded Cage that's like kind of slightly better, just because I feel like the overall level is kind of slightly better designed, but I feel like it has the same sort of issues. So I do leave it here at 14. Now, number 13 is a mission that I know is like very well hated within the Hitman community. And it's actually one that I enjoy well enough. Like, obviously it's not the top of the list, but I don't hate it. And that is Three-Headed Serpent from Hitman 2. And this is another one that is a very open level that involves 3 targets this time. And just like some of these other levels we just talked about, it kind of involves 3 targets that act independently. This one's even more weirdly structured with the way that this map works, is that essentially there is a village in the middle of the map that acts as like a hub, while there are 3 separate off branches where each of the individual targets are at. Now, these targets could come out of their hiding places at points, and some of the mission stories involve that, but that does obviously add to this more like separated feel of this level. Like, it just feels very disjointed. However, I did really enjoy this mission on my replay. I do feel like this is a mission that has very good mission stories, and I did enjoy that element of it. I do feel like this level, while feeling disjointed, does also open it up for you having a lot of possibilities to kill your target. And with each of those assassinations feeling pretty unique, I just enjoyed my replay of this level. And that's why it's here at number 13. Now, number 12, we're moving on to a similar level in my eyes. And that is The Last Resort, the Hitman 2 DLC. And this is a mission I'm kind of conflicted on. I mean, it is the top here of these more open levels that have numerous targets that are widely separated, that causes the level to feel a bit disjointed. But I do feel like this is also the most interesting conceptually, where this is a level that takes place entirely on an island resort that has a lot of diverse locations. But I will say that I did find some elements of the level design to be pretty annoying here, especially navigating around water, where there were some points where I wanted to cross over to something, but I couldn't because I guess the water was too deep. I also feel like the mission stories here were pretty limited, though the actual assassinations here are pretty fun. Though also it is a pretty short level that can be finished extremely quickly, even on your first casual playthrough, with only one of the targets truly being in a real restricted area. So that's kind of underwhelming, but overall I did really like this level. Again, it's kind of at the top of this sub tier here of levels with a bit more open of level design, and that's why I have it here at number 12. Now, number 11, we're moving on to a bit of a different mission. This is one I felt conflicted on where exactly to land it, because I was essentially deciding on if it should be above or below that last tier we talked about. I decided to go above, and here we do have Death in the Family from Hitman 3. I know this is a widely talked about mission in the series, as it is a very different mission. It is a mission that very much leads into this murder mystery mission story that is in it, which is a very strong mission story. However, I feel like this level is almost solely dependent on that, where if you take that element away from this mission, it is a pretty stale mission. Like, it is one that involves only one target. And while there is this separate objective of getting a case file from her office, that never felt like that interesting of an objective, especially like if you do the murder mystery mission story that just hands you that case file anyway. I also feel like the mission stories outside of this murder mystery one are just kind of fine. And it really just, again, it very much feels like this mission lives or dies with the murder mystery, where that is like the main intrigue of this level, and everything outside of that is just kind of meh. So again, I felt conflicted on where to land this, but the murder mystery itself is so strong that I did decide to go number 11 here. Now, number 10, moving on to another sub-tier here that we're going to be talking about, where all these levels are very focused levels. I think levels that have a set concept that is executed pretty well within them, but don't quite make it to being a top-tier mission to me. But here at number 10, we're starting that off with the final mission from the base game of Hitman 2. We have the Ark Society, which I'm always conflicted on as a level. I think it's one that, again, is a really interesting concept. This concept of you being on this private island where there's this party with a lot of rich party goers. However, really the majority of the level pertains these two towers that are beyond this party, where it's a very vertical level where there's a lot of climbing up of the towers and having to change outfits to get certain privileges. That does get kind of annoying, especially with how many enemies are on this map. I will say that this level is on a grand scale, which is something I do find impressive. Again, like, it is a really cool mission, again, conceptually, but I just find that there are points where I get annoyed at how many different times you have to get different disguises just to go up another floor. Also, there is a optional objective here that's just kind of dumb, of helping the constant escape, and this is just kind of pointless, like a really boring mission there. So I'm a bit conflicted on Ark Society. Again, I think it's a fantastic concept, and I think it's an interesting level. It's just one that I don't really love when I'm playing, and because that's here at number 10. Now, number 9, we're moving on to what I would consider like a baseline Hitman level. It doesn't have too many flaws, but also isn't that great either, and that is Club 27 from Hitman 1. Again, a pretty standard Hitman level. It's one that has 2 targets. The entire mission is in this hotel. Again, a very vertical hotel, very vertical level. One where you're constantly having to change disguises in order to find your way from level to level. Again, like kind of your standard Hitman fare. This mission does have some interesting mission stories, particularly ones revolving around the Rockstar assassination. However, I do feel like the lawyer guy on the bottom floor can be a bit of an underwhelming target. Though really, like, overall, I do feel like this level just feels like a lesser version of a mission that we're going to be talking about down the road. But it is still not bad. Again, it is a very baseline level for me, and that's why I have it here number 9. Now, number 8, we're moving on to the first mission from Hitman 3. We do have On Top of the World, which is a great set piece here to open the game. Again, really showing off this new cinematic approach to the Hitman series, with you starting off this parkour section at the beginning where you're climbing around the outside of the building, and then you climb up the stairs to give you this like big reveal of the level that you're playing on, and that is cool. To me, this was a fun level. It has a really cool design, particularly outside of the staff area. The problem is that you do end up spending a decent amount of time in the staff area, especially for one of the assassinations. That can be underwhelming. I mean, there are very few mission stories here, though the ones that are there are pretty fun. However, at the same time, I do feel like there are just like not many options with this level in terms of how you want to approach killing each of the targets. Again, I do feel like this is a solid level, but one that does feel a bit restrictive at points, and also one that can be a bit underwhelming with how much time you're spending in the back room, which just isn't that interesting. So overall, I do have it here number 8. Now, number 7, we have the final normal mission in the trilogy, and that is the Farewell from Hitman 3, which to me is, again, another pretty baseline level, a level that does what it tries to do pretty well here. Again, I do overall like the design of this level. It is one that takes place on a winery with a party going on upstairs. It is also a very vertical level, which I always think is something that is usually a pro within the Hitman series. Mission stories are pretty solid here as well. And I do like how much you interact with Diana across this mission, which did change things up a bit, with one of the objectives being to not kill her, which is kind of a dumb objective, but still also kind of just inoffensive in its own right. I will say that one thing that is underwhelming to me is just how quickly this level can be finished, even on a casual playthrough, where again, in my first playthrough of this, it's just really easy to get both of the targets around the same spot. And again, it just feels kind of underwhelming to be able to so easily take down both of your targets that way for something that is supposed to be like the final mission in the Hitman series. But again, it is still a very well-designed map, and I do think it does most things pretty well. It is here number 7. Now number 6 is a mission that I really enjoyed, and I was surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did considering how restrictive it seemed to be at the beginning, and that is Golden Handshake, which was a Hitman 2 DLC. And to me, this is one that I think has a great concept. Again, it is a mission that takes place entirely in a bank, but again, at first it does feel pretty limiting, where I did feel a bit unsure of how to approach this level when I first started it, but eventually I started to have a lot of fun with this level, especially with the mission stories. I do feel like the mission stories here are all pretty good. You obviously have the interview one, which is a pretty notable one there. You also have the heist, and again, I should mention that this is another one of these missions that only has one target, but there is a second objective, that one being to take the data core from the vault, and I do think that was an interesting second objective. Felt like a positive change here, and one that didn't feel overly annoying, unlike most other additional objectives in the series. I overall just had a lot of fun here, and I do like this element of this being like a heist mission as well. And again, it is a strong mission. The main reason it's not higher is because of the scale of it, where it is a, again, pretty small scale mission with it entirely taking place in a bank, which is why it's not in the top tier, but it is one that I really enjoyed playing. It's here number 6. Now, number 5 is one that I had at number 1 for the longest time, and I thought this was going to be number 1 for quite a while, as this is a mission that always stands out to me, and it is a very notable mission. But on my reassessment before making this list, I decided to bump it down just due to how basic it is, and that is the Showstopper, the first real mission in Hitman 1, which really set the standard for these World of Assassination missions moving forward. I mean, it's a great introduction to the series, with it really being masterfully designed in terms of teaching you how to use like the disguise system, how to use mission stories. You get this great intro to the first target, where he's like walking down the stairs as you walk in, really openly introducing you to this concept that just because your target is in front of you doesn't mean that you can actually take them out. I really like the mission story involving Helmut Kruger and how that gives you access to the entire map, which does feel broken, but again, I feel like it is purposely so, as again a way of teaching the player that there are going to be opportunities like this in other levels. And overall, again, I think the Showstopper is a very strong level, and again, one I had at number 1 for the longest time. But again, it is a pretty small scaled mission. It does take place entirely in this one building that, again, can be broken by that one mission story. So again, that is kind of underwhelming in the grand scheme of things. So despite how much fun and how much I actually do enjoy the level, I do have to leave it here at number 5. Now number 4, and again, for me, this is the top tier. I think these 4 missions here are 4 of the more complex missions in the series, 4 of the grander missions in the series, but not in a way that restricts the overall mission itself. However, this first one is a bit more hazy in that, but I still did really enjoy my experience playing it, and that is End of an Era from Hitman 3, which I've seen many lists of this being a middle tier mission, but I haven't seen anyone be super high on this mission. But for me, again, like, I just really enjoyed playing it, where I do think the mission stories here are extremely strong. I really loved both of the mission stories that I ended up doing here to take out both of the targets. One where you dress up as a hobo in order to get added into these experiments that the one target is doing, and you have to find your way up to the top floor of the building in order to take him down. You have the other target that's in the underground ICA facility, and that in itself feels like its own level, which again, I think is kind of a knock, that these two sections feel very separated from each other. But at the same time, I did really enjoy the time that I spent at the ICA facility. I did really like having to stop all of the security protocols that are down there. I did really like the way that you're able to kill the target through using her own set of controls against her. I did really like the escape from the facility once you finish the mission objective, where you have this nice set piece of you having to escape while everyone's trying to hunt you down, and that's pretty fun as well. I also feel like just the outside of the level is just really nice looking, with the streets being filled with neon lights and the rain like adding to the atmosphere of it. I really do love a lot about this level, but again, I do get the criticisms for it, and I can't really put it at the top of the top for me, and it does land here number 4. Now, number 3, we're moving on to a level that did jump up quite a bit, actually, for me after my latest replay. Again, this was kind of a mid-tier level for me before it, but after I did enjoy a lot more, and that is Situs Inversus, the final level from Hitman 1, which is a really interesting map. I mean, it's a map that, again, takes place in this weird, like, resort slash spa slash medical facility that has a lot of really diverse areas around it. I do feel like there are a good amount of really fun mission stories here, and just so much variety in how you're able to approach this level. Now, I will say my one downside for this, and the reason why it is at number 3 here below the other 2, is because I do find the surgery assassination kind of annoying. And while yes, I know there are obviously mission stories that help out with that, it is still an objective that I don't find fun. And that's my one main knock for this level, but overall I do really enjoy the level as a whole. I think it's a very diverse level and one that feels like a fitting way to end Hitman 1, and because that is here at number 3. Now number 2, and I feel like these top 2 are the definitive top 2 for most people. And number 2 here is actually one that actually got boosted a little bit since my last replay, and that is World of Tomorrow from Hitman 1. And just in general, this Sapienza map here is really, really strong. I think it's one of the strongest maps in the history of the series, one that really gets verticality and how that plays into the series. I do really like the design of the level, where overall it is one that is based around this like mansion where the 2 targets are usually at, but outside of it is this really massive town that is very fun to navigate around. I feel like in general the mission stories here are really interesting as well. However, I feel like there is a massive knock here in terms of the mission itself that does leave it out being number 1, and that is the fact that the mission is, again, pretty restrictive. I mean, the mission itself is one that mostly takes place within the mansion, which I think can be underwhelming considering, again, there's this massive town to explore outside of that you don't really get to explore in most of the mission stories. And really, if you are trying to just do the mission, you'll probably never even explore the town outside. I feel like that is an underwhelming element of the mission itself. Also, you do have this virus objective that I'm kind of mixed on. It is an interesting one where, again, they're trying to play up the formula. I do think it's interesting to sneak your way into the research facility and get the hazmat suit and try to destroy the virus while there's other scientists there. And I think that's cool, but it is also kind of a minor annoyance considering how big of a hostile area that area is. But overall, again, like, I do still really love this mission. It is one of my favorite missions, but I feel like those minor knocks here do leave it here at number 2. And at number 1, the best mission from the Hitman World of Assassination Trilogy to me is the Finish Line from Hitman 2, which is a really incredible level. I mean, I think just from a level standpoint, it is a map here on a massive scale, mostly taking place around this racetrack. But even beyond that, you have this pier area, you have this like parking garage area, you have this like research facility. Like, there's a lot going on this map, and there's so many different ways to kill your targets here. Again, it is one that I don't really have any major flaws with, personally. Like, it is one I just overall really enjoy playing with no major flaws, and also having really fun mission stories, and then also just being, again, on a grander scale from especially anything we've seen before this point in the Hitman series. And again, even afterwards, when we see levels on this scale, I usually have a major complaint that goes along with those levels. Well, here at the Finish Line, I really don't have that. There are minor complaints of how dispersed it is, and I sometimes get lost in the parking garage area of trying to find my way back to the entrance. But outside of that, again, I do really love this level. A really well-designed level in the Hitman series. It's here at number 1. And there we go. I mean, that is my mission ranking for the Hitman World of Assassination Trilogy. And this is a video that I wanted to do all the way back when I first played Hitman 1. So now that I've played the entire World of Assassination Trilogy, it was nice to finally put this together. Well, that kind of concludes my videos on the World of Assassination Trilogy. I always expect more game videos down the road, but for now, that's the video. Thank you for watching.